else, I'm Tim Brown. I'm the author of the book, Uncommon Athletes, Lead with Passion, Ignite Your Purpose. So I wrote the book basically using the acronym PASSION. And that came from, I got a football player here, Ben. You know how at the beginning of the game, everybody's all hyped up, ready to go and all fired. Football players are something, boy. They sweat so much before the game, man. You would think that by the time you kick the game off, they use up all the energy, get ready for the game.
True.
And then once the game starts, you get down about 10 points or so. It's not going your way. And you look on the sideline and you wonder, what happened to all that passion? Where'd it go? Where'd all that go? And so I wanted to write the book about being just being uncommon and being able to maintain that passion. And before I go any further, why don't everybody just kind of introduce yourself? Let's start with Adreana. You want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes. Hi, my name is Adreana Miller. I am 23 years old. I am from New Jersey, born and raised. So if you hear me say stuff a little weird, it's because my accent. I get that a lot. Let's see. So I started basketball at a young age because, that's basically all my family does, and we're tall. And I was always pretty girly, and my dad was like, no, you're about to just play basketball. And so I loved it ever since. Super competitive, but didn't really have a lot of talent, but I always worked hard, and I was super competitive, which earned me a scholarship to go to LaSalle University in Philly. And I enjoyed it, but there I battled a lot of mental stress, and I was very unhappy, just emotionally, just very up and down. And there I knew I always had a relationship with God. I always did, but I didn't know him. And it wasn't until I transferred to Ohio State where I received his grace and presence when I met Miss Julie, who does cross sports for us. And before every basketball game, we talked about Jesus Christ and how important it was just to not define myself as an athlete and to define myself as a child of God first. That's when I started realizing my purpose. I'm starting to really realize my calling and purpose for Jesus Christ, who is my Lord and Savior. And it's just been a lot more peace of mind. I really struggled with mental health, and I always thought I can't do this. I was super hard on myself just, because of how competitive I was. And when I did bad in basketball games, I was so down. I just couldn't believe all the hard work I put in and all I did the results wasn't showing. And at the end of the day, I just knew that perhaps, God is using me for something way bigger than athletics. And from that point on at Ohio State, I've just been at a really good point in my life, just growing and evolving through God's presence. It's just an honor that he called me to do this, and nice meeting you guys. But that's basically it.
Oh, good. We appreciate you joining us. Appreciate that testimony as well. That's a great word of encouragement, for all of us, because all of us go through those things. But being able to admit those things and find a good space, find a good space. Sound like you're in a good space. Yes. Nick, what about you, Nick?
Hello, everybody. I'm Nick Kellogg. Funny enough, my parents and Ben's parents live like 10 houses down from each other, so I'm pretty familiar with Ben.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I was born in Indianapolis, but pretty much I moved at a very early age. We moved when I was like 2. So I'm from Columbus, been here most of my life. And basketball has always been a staple for me. Had a basketball family. Brother played, my pops played. My sister dabbled in it a little bit, so it's always been there. And I earned a scholarship, went to Howard University for 4 years, and now I'm going into this will be my 6th professional year playing overseas. I've played in Poland, France, Finland, and the Republic of Georgia. Those are all the places I've played, and hoping, obviously, to get back, given the circumstances that we're in right now. It's not looking great, but we'll just kind of continue to play it by ear and kind of see what happens as things continue to develop and we find new information and figure out kind of what the lay of the land will be. yeah, I grew up in a Christian household, so faith has always been important from day one. Starting with my father and the head of the house, and so that's kind of been instilled in me for a long time, and tried to carry it through my platform as an athlete, and with my just relationships throughout life, and that's obviously how I've connected with Tim here, and through his relationship with my father, and yeah, I was involved with some athletes in action things down at Ohio University with a guy named Mark Stickle. He was kind of a do-it-all guy. Was like our chaplain. He led he was the basketball guy, but he also did things for a few of the other sports as well. And I've stayed in close contact with him. He's been a friend, mentor, and just kind of that rock that I needed for, the support, to have someone outside of your family, right, that you can talk to about, faith and things of that nature. That's kind of my story, and here I am. It's good to be here with you.
Well, we appreciate you. Yeah. All right, for being the elder statesman of the group.
I was gonna say, Tim, I'm the old guy. Thanks for still asking me to come around here these days. So, Tim, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be on this call with so many great people of great character, and that's something I've always admired about Tim Brown. For those who are having the opportunity to watch this, I've known Tim since, what do we say, Tim? Maybe I was 10 years old, I think. My dad took me to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes memorial golf breakfast. I used to work hard all year, and if I was good, got good grades, my dad would let me, one of the very last days of school, take the morning off, go to the memorial tournament. I'd get to hear a professional golfer speak, and you would normally run the banquet, and that's how I got to know Tim Brown. I know you've been a part of FCA and the ministry for so long. So first of all, just appreciate you so much. Grew up very close to Nick, as he mentioned, in Westerville, Ohio. Went to Westerville Central High School. Was blessed my junior year of high school to earn a scholarship to my dream school, The Ohio State University, where I competed as a football student athlete. Was a starting punter there, 2009, 10, 11, and 12. So was blessed to have a wonderful experience at Ohio State. Had a unique experience. I was there through some coaching changes. So I played for Coach Jim Tressel, Coach Luke Fickle, who's now at Cincinnati, and Urban Meyer in 2012. So I had 3 coaches in 5 years at Ohio State. It was a little bit of a different outlook than what I thought, but it ended up being a great career, and was blessed to receive my bachelor's degree in strategic communications, a master's in sport management, and 2 years ago I got my doctorate in sports management. So I absolutely love what I'm doing now. I work seasonally as a sports broadcaster for ABC Fox Communications in Columbus. We do a football pregame, postgame show called Football Fever on Channel 6. Sadly, we're not going to be doing it this fall, so we can hope for a spring, looking towards an optimistic future there. But my full day job, I'm on the faculty at Ohio State now in the sport industry. So I teach sport ethics, sport leadership, and sport and popular culture. And I've been a part of FCA and Athletes in Action for quite some time. So it's really an honor to be a part of this today, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Good. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Dr. Buchanan. Right.
Trying, man. Trying.
As we look at those pillars of passion, in the book I talk about uncommon preparation, uncommon adjustment, that's with the right attitude, uncommon sacrifice, and then we talk about being selfless, how important that is to be an uncommon athlete, and being an uncommon athlete of integrity, being an overcomer, and having an uncommon nerve. And knowing a little bit about each one of your stories, let me start with Nick. Nick, when I think about making a sacrifice, the sacrifice that you made as an athlete to leave the country, basically to leave your family, and that, what is this? I'm thinking it'll be your 6th season there. How has that been when you talk about the sacrifice of giving up that time with your family and just being alone, basically? Right.
I mean, no, that's probably the hardest thing to do with the whole overseas life. Obviously basketball is basketball. I love playing. I love being active. I love the game. It's been a part of my entire life, to be honest. And, I love traveling and love seeing different places and being around different cultures and things like that. But I mean, yeah, the biggest and the hardest part is, being gone for 9, maybe 10 months, depending on, the schedule and the playoffs, being away from your family for that long. I've got 2 nieces, a nephew now. And my family's extremely, extremely close-knit, and I know you know that.
Yeah.
We're all only separated by a couple of years, and yeah, that's tough. And I knew that going in, obviously, and that was something I was going to have to kind of overcome. But to be honest, it never really gets easier, you know, when it's that time to go and to, you know, kind of say goodbye for the better part of 10 months. But it's something that, you know, I signed up for, and I just kind of had to accept it. And a lot of times, you know, you get over there and depending on the schedule, there might not be a break where you can get back. You know, it's a lot different than, you know, playing in New York or playing in LA or something. You can just take a flight home. You know, I'm on the other side of the world. Like there is no long weekend trips. So, you know, you just gotta really be intentional and in tune and focus on, you know, how you're going to make it work. And obviously, you know, we're blessed with technology nowadays to you know, call and FaceTime and Skype and do all that kind of good stuff. So I can, you know, at least stay in touch that way. But no, again, it's definitely hard, and it continues to be the most challenging part about, you know, what I've been doing for the past 5-6 years. So yeah, it's tough, but I try to, you know, look at the positives and just take everything in stride.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, in the book we talk about, but when you make that sacrifice, is giving up something to get something better, you know, and then just making a choice, you know. Just an exchange, basically. It's really an exchange.
Yeah, right.
That's what athletes do. They make that exchange, and uncommon athletes, you know, it's not easy for them, but they're willing to make that, you know, knowing that there's something better, you know, for them. Adreana, could you speak to the fact that you had to make an adjustment when we talk about an uncommon athlete making an adjustment, coming from the South, coming to Ohio State, and in that adjustment, we talk about making it with the right attitude, how important that is. You know, when you have to change positions sometimes, you know, some athletes are like, man, I'm a quarterback, you know. You know, I'm not a wide receiver, you know, I'm a point guard. I'm not a shooting guard. So can you speak to that adjustment that you had to make coming from the South to the Ohio State?
So the first adjustment was just coming from, you know, a city, and then that was just very urban, like, I feel like. But like everyone was a lot nicer. Like, I don't know, I just had that family feel right when I when I got here. I was just like, wow, like everyone's so nice. Like but I was a shooting guard. I was just your solid 2 and 3 at LaSalle. And when I came to Ohio State, Coach McGuff was like, all right, we're going to need you as a 4 because a lot of our bigs, you know, were hurt, and like we were pretty undersized and had a lot of guards. So I took that role, and, you know, that was a big adjustment just because I was a bit undersized as a 4. But, you know, the competitive aspect, you know, I just did what I had to do. And there were times where I did feel like kind of out of place. And I just was like, what am I doing? Like, you know, but I sacrificed doing a lot of stuff for my team. And just because, you know, at the end of the day, we will get wins. And it's, you know, you can't be selfish during that time. You just can't, you know. It's all about the bigger picture. Yeah. Another transition that was hard was just the way bigger school, like just so big. LaSalle was pretty small, and, you know, at Ohio State, there's football, and there's a lot more parties, and there's just a lot of stuff getting thrown at your face. And it's just like, all right, but I'm a student athlete. I have to sacrifice, you know, going out, you know, for like working out and like getting more shots up when everyone else leaves, stuff like that. Right. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, I genuinely enjoyed that. Like, I loved like always being tired and like going to class, like on a routine and just rushing, and just that team aspect I loved. So it's just a blessing. I had a scholarship, and there's people who are in debt right now and just don't have a chance to just, you know, play sports in general. So everything was just a blessing.
That's good. That's good. Ben, you were around at the Ohio State football. Naturally, around these guys who you can see the potential, and they're on their way to the NFL.
Yep.
You know, and a lot of guys that's their whole deal. How would you speak to this whole thing about being around these athletes? Where does selflessness come into play? Because I'm sure there were some guys or maybe some situations where guys are looking out for themselves,
Sure.
trying to better their career, so to speak, to get to that next level. How does selflessness come into play?
Well, when I think of selflessness, Tim, I think of great leadership. I think those really go hand in hand there. If you're fortunate to be around great leaders, it's going to trickle down. And I was fortunate during my time at Ohio State with Coach Tressel, with Coach Fickle, with Coach Meyer, all excellent leaders in their own right. I look to you as an excellent leader. And for so many of these, families and student athletes that are watching this, my first word of advice would be just get around a great leader, have a great role model, somebody that you can look up to, that when we talk about somebody who's prepared, who's able to adjust, sacrifice, integrity, overcoming, having that nerve, that passion that you talk about, those are the people that I want to be around. When I look back at my time at Ohio State, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that there were a lot of egos in that locker room, a lot of big egos, a lot of guys with big dreams, which are good. The NFL is very alluring. The money, the fame, there's a lot of things that can come with it. But I think when you talk about being selfless, you're talking about really looking together towards your team goals over self, team over self. And I was fortunate to be around some great guys that really embodied that term of an uncommon athlete. I think one thing for a common athlete that I talk about in my classes, whether you're talking leaders, athletes, great coworkers, et cetera, you have to look for this acronym. It's BCD. Are they blaming, complaining, defending themselves around others? And an uncommon athlete doesn't do that. That's somebody who's going to be cohesive, who's going to put team over self, and who's going to be selfless in all that they do. So I was fortunate to be around some great coaches, some great guys. Everyone on this call, I think, most certainly falls into that category as well. And so that's why I'm inspired to be an uncommon athlete and to continue to push forward in that regard.
Yeah, I like that. I like that team over self.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Blaming others or whatnot. Yeah, and it's a challenge. We know it's definitely a challenge.
Because I'll just say real quick, it's natural. This is one thing we talk about it. The natural human, inclination, and with this being faith-based as well, is our relationship with Jesus. Jesus tells us to be slow to anger. It's natural for us to when there's times of adversity to, hey, I'm gonna blame Nick, or I'm gonna complain about Adreana. I'm gonna defend myself and do this, when really, many times I've found in my life the right thing to do is run away from the natural human inclination. If we can, live by those fruits of the Spirit, joy, peace, compassion, all the things that the Lord tells us to live by, that's when we're going to live right. And that's when we're going to be elite in all we do.
Good. That's good stuff. Hey, Nick, when would you say you had the nerve to really think that you can get a college basketball scholarship? Where'd that come from? Because I know now, you said you love basketball, but I remember growing up, you were a soccer player. And
yeah.
I used to get on your dad because you guys would come into the gym kicking a soccer ball in the goal, I'm like, Clark, what is this? What are these guys doing, man? They're supposed to be basketball players, but they're walking around kicking a soccer ball into the basketball hoop. So when did you get that nerve to say that, hey, I can be a college basketball player, I can play professionally? Where did that come in? How did that come about?
Well, yeah, like you said, just a little background. Yeah, soccer honestly was my first love and my first sport. I didn't start playing organized basketball until like 5th grade.
Yeah.
Which is wild to think about now, because kids are starting at 3, 4, 5 years old and doing training and individual sessions and this, that, and the third. And I hadn't even picked up a ball yet. I was kicking a soccer ball, like you said. So it was right around that 5th grade time is when I started playing organized. And for a long time there, I was just doing both. I was doing soccer in the spring, summer and fall, and then winter came and I was locked in with hoops. And so for a long time, that was kind of the routine, and that's what I was doing. And then probably about 8th, 9th grade is when I started shifting. I started really shifting towards hoops. And I said, you know what, I think I can be, pretty decent if I work at this. And so, middle school, a lot of my success early on was just due to the simple fact that I was just bigger than everybody. had nothing really to do with my skill set. I was just bigger than people. And I knew that. So when I got to high school is really when I kind of started putting the work in and trying to just see how good I could be and how far I could take it. And obviously, you know, with the hard work and with a lot of really good coaches, good support, mentors, friends, all that stuff. I just continued to work, and then I had that dream. I said, I want to play. I want to play in college at some level, in some capacity, and that's just kind of what I worked towards. So, to answer a roundabout way to answer your question, it was probably high school. When I got to high school in 9th, 10th grade is when I really started to kind of hone in and think that I could, you know, do something with the game as far as, you know, getting a scholarship and maybe taking it even further than that.
Yeah, that's one that separates that uncommon athlete, that they really have the nerve to think, because, you know, there's only so many scholarships out there. So you got to have a lot of nerve to think that, hey, I'm getting one of those, you know. But there's some work involved in that, you know. It's not just talking about it. There's some work that has that's what I'm just kind of going through the words and just picking you guys' brains. Ben, can you speak to how integrity fits in, you know? How do you remain an athlete when you're in those situations and just maintaining your integrity, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a wonderful word, Tim. Integrity, when I look at that word, you know, the word that initially comes to mind is teamwork. I think one thing that's, you know, special about everybody that's on this call today, and it even is, you know, applicable to those that play purely individual sports, but I think the vast majority of us, you know, are going to have teammates. We're going to work with others. We're going to have coaches. We're going to be in competition. And, you know, I can only speak for myself, but I would guess that others on this call would feel the same, that when I, you know, hear the word integrity, those are the type of teammates and coaches and people that I want to be around. When I think of, you know, integrity, I think of somebody who's honest. I think of somebody who's going to do small things with great love. That's one of my favorite quotes. Somebody who has integrity is somebody who's willing to be uncommon, right? Because I think it's natural for ourselves. Again, if we go back to our human nature, you know, we want to get ahead in any capacity as possible. We want to do anything we can to, you know, be above somebody else. And when we have to do it with integrity, that's telling us, hey, there's a right way to do something and a wrong way to do something. And I know for me, in my Christian faith, I really feel that in my relationship with the Holy Spirit. I'll go to God daily in prayer, and it's normally pretty convicting as to, you know, what I feel in my heart as, you know, should I do this or should I not do this? Did I really handle that well? And then do I have the, you know, the ability to go back and say, you know, I'm sorry for my actions. I think that's many times for athletes, for young professionals. I know myself, as I've grown in my faith, when I talk about integrity, it's being willing to admit you're wrong sometimes too, to say, hey, you know what, I messed up there. I want to be accountable. That's another great word that I love that comes with integrity. And so, you know, I think it's important for us to strive to be people of integrity each and every day, and even more so to surround ourselves with people of integrity, because that's how, you know, that one of my favorite quotes that Coach Trussell used to always say is, you are who you associate with. So be mindful of the crowd that you're with and be willing to, you know, showcase that to others. But man, when I talk about my friends, my acquaintances, I want to be around like-minded people of faith and integrity. I think that's so important, the community aspect of it.
Amen. Amen. That's good stuff. Yeah, just being around those type of guys who believe the things that you believe, that value the things that you value. You know, they can kind of keep you on that path. Adreana, when we talk about overcoming, you mentioned earlier about some of the mental health sort of issues you were kind of, you know, dealing with, so to speak. And then how would you say, how did you overcome those? In what ways, or as an athlete? Because, you know, as an athlete, that mental, I mean, it kind of adds to it, doesn't take away from it, you know, because you got life things you're dealing with, and then you throw the athletic piece in there, you know, and so now kind of get magnified. But how did you overcome those as an athlete?
Okay, so I overcame it by, you know, realizing at first, like, okay, like, this is a problem. You know, a lot of times bit later, but like I realized, okay, I have a problem, like that needs to be, I need healing, I need progress, I need growth, or I'm gonna stay stagnant. So a lot of times I talk to my coach, and you know, they gave their perspective, and there was a lot of great coaches at Ohio State that helps me completely. And I got into the word really heavy, especially at Ohio State. And in the past, I really, I would look at scriptures here and there and like talk to God, but I wasn't digging into the word. And once I started digging into the word, there was always solutions to my problems that I didn't realize, were there. I would look at quotes and like I was relying on other things, but at the end of the day, it was the Bible that really helped me because it transformed my mind. And once my mind was transformed, then like physically and mentally, I felt a lot more healthier. But it was hard. It was really hard because I had to break away from certain habits and toxic stuff that I was just so used to. At the end of the day, I am a child of God and I am a woman of God, and I didn't have confidence in myself. And how can I live like that when I'm a child of God and a woman of God, and like I have so much blessings, and I just had to look at the positive. Like I was so focused on negative and this not going right and this blah blah blah. I'm working hard and not seeing results, but at the end of the day, everything happened the way it was supposed to because of God's grace. So yeah, it was hard though. It was a very long process, but I'm thankful for it.
I think the word says that all things work together,
Right.
for the good of those who love the Lord, called according to his purpose. And so we're going to go through some things, but be of good cheer,
Right. Yeah, I used to just feel bad for myself, and I'm just like, for what? Like,
Yeah, that's a good lesson, a good word for athletes as they go through some things and things just don't go their way. Worked hard and all of a sudden you get injured or whatnot, or somebody and all that. But why me?
Why me? Yeah.
How blessed you are. And it's a mindset. It's a mindset that's developed to be able to overcome those things. Lastly, as we wrap up, just a couple of things. One is when we talk about preparation, what would you say are some of the important qualities of being prepared as an uncommon athlete? What are some of those preparation things? Because guys they practice, but what are some of those keys, I believe, to being really prepared? So you can remain passionate through the whole season. And I know, Nick, when you make the adjustment from going in college, you played 30 games, 35 games or whatnot, and now you're talking about 9 months of games, and just that whole preparation process. What would you guys say to a young athlete in preparing?
I'll start. I'll just the first thing that jumps out to me when I hear preparation, especially specifically for athletes, is just I think about your body and just how important it is to prepare that. And to keep that and to take care of it. Honestly, a lot of people don't really understand the importance of the pre-work of being an athlete. I mean, it's not just, we don't just show up to games and roll it out and play for 9 months. You know what I mean? It's about stretching. It's about your diet. It's about hydration. And all that goes in to prepare yourself for your competition in whatever respective sport that you're playing. And that takes diligent focus and intentionality about it. You're not just going to stumble into, being prepared. You got to be really intentional about it. And so that's kind of one of the biggest keys for me. And I think just for athletes coming up is if you can make that a priority and really not necessarily think outside the box, but just take that seriously, because I know a lot of guys don't, take that aspect seriously about preparing themselves to play and to work out and to practice and to recover and to eat right. I mean, that's a whole segment of being an athlete that sometimes gets overlooked. Yeah. You see guys get between the lines and just want to play, and there's a lot more that goes into that. I know it's floating around, social media for probably a couple of years now, but they said that LeBron spends $1 million taking care of his body a year, and that's all just preparation, whether it's recovery, food, stretching, yoga, meditation, right. Getting your mind right. All that's a part of him being able to do the things that he does physically. It all starts again with preparation and how he takes that seriously and gets ready to do whatever it is he needs to do.
That's good. That's good.
I'll just jump in there real quick. I think, Nick, that was an excellent explanation there. There's a word that comes to mind, I think, that we've all heard that you just encompassed perfectly there. It's delayed gratification, right? It's the idea of, am I able to sacrifice now what I want later? And that comes to mind having great vision, right? You have to have great vision for the future. And I've heard us talk about it on this call as well with some previous stories of saying, hey, yeah, I need to sacrifice. Maybe I shouldn't go out with friends tonight or be seen in this type of place. I'm going to stay after practice. I'm going to take an ice bath. I'm going to heal my body. I'm going to watch extra game film. I'm going to do those types of things because I realize in order to be a champion, because, I love these types of conversations because it brings me back to my times in the locker room as well. I remember having coaches tell me, like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about being average, or are we talking about being elite? Because I think we want to be elite. We want to be uncommon, right? That's what we're talking about here. And if you want to be average, you're not a bad person. You're not a bad guy or a bad girl. But if you want to be uncommon, you want to be elite. It's exactly what we've talked about on this call. It's that delayed gratification. Am I willing to sacrifice now to reap the benefits down the road? And I think, man, that's what life's all about. That's what it is to be an uncommon athlete, I think.
That's good. Delayed gratification. Adreana?
Both well said by both of them, but I was just going to add just getting rid of distractions, because a lot of stuff is thrown at us and you get a lot of people in your ear, whether it's family and friends, and a lot of times it could be the enemy. So just staying focused and being around, like Ben said, like-minded people, that's so important. That is very important, because, who you surround yourself with, I have some really great teammates that I know, like, I can call and they'll give me the best advice, but there's also people who don't have, like, your best intentions at heart. So just be very careful, because everyone's not as nice as they seem. And, just, keep that crowd small, keep praying for those great people in your life, and everything will attract itself in. So yeah, get rid of those distractions, stay focused, and work hard. It's fun at the end. It is hard.
Yeah, it's great benefits, great rewards. So what I'm hearing in all this is that you can't do it by yourself. When you think about those persons that you have in your life who are on that same path with you, that are willing to put in that time, along with you, the sacrifice with you. It's great when you have those persons that are with you. This whole uncommon series or whatnot is based on this scripture in the Bible, Matthew 7:13 and 14. And it talks about those narrow and wide gates. Jesus does an analogy about that. He says, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. Meaning that you got that wide gate, broad is that road, and the Bible tells you it leads to destruction, and many enter through that gate. But small is the gate and narrow is the way that leads to life, and few find it. And that's the reality is that you're going to find that as few, the conversation we're having about being an uncommon athlete, this is not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but it is the way that leads to life. And I'm not just talking about sports. We're talking about life. And that's what this whole thing is about, having an uncommon life. And sports is a part of that. Those qualities that we talk about, preparation, that attitude of adjustment, sacrifice, selflessness, integrity, being an overcomer and having nerve, all those principles are not just about sports, they're about life, And so when I wrote this, always thinking about how can we utilize sports and apply it to life. We talk about that all the time, those life lessons you get from sports, and that's what this passion is all about, is having those things, but entering through that narrow gate. Because wide is the gate and broad is the way, but it leads to destruction. But narrow is the gate. Enter through that narrow gate, that's the gate that leads to life, and it's few that find it. And so I'm excited that I have had opportunity to talk with some individuals who are on that path. And I want to encourage you to stay on that path. It's a journey, and it doesn't end. I love Aaron talking about those distractions. Distractions are always going to be there. I don't care how old you get, they're not going anywhere. They're always going to be there. But it's important to just stay, to stay focused, and to keep your heart and mind, stayed on Jesus, who's for me, he's the author and finisher of my faith, You know, he wrote this life for him, and he's going to finish it. The Bible says this: he who began a good work in you, he's going to see it through to completion. And so I remind you all that God's begun a great work in you, and he's the one, even in these times that we're living in, the things that we're dealing with, but I really believe he's going to see it through to completion if we stay on that narrow path. You know, we stay on that path that leads to life. And so I appreciate you all for being a part of this series. And I'm just excited about what God is doing. You know, we look at the world, we see things going, but we know God's in charge, you know, and we know that there's going to be some great opportunities that are coming out of this. Even this opportunity to get everybody together, this wouldn't have happened without COVID, you know, just this opportunity to have this technology. And here's the thing, God's got everything already set up. This technology was already ready to go. It didn't have to be created when this happened, you know, it was already there, you know, so everything's already been created for our good, So I want to encourage those who watch this to order the book, Uncommon Athletes, Lead with Passion, and you can connect with me on Facebook, also on Instagram at Coach Tim Brown, Facebook Coach Tim Brown, and on my Twitter page as well, and the website is CoachTimBrown.com. But I appreciate you all for being a part of this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what God's going to do in the future, you know, for everyone that's on this call. So thanks for your time, and I appreciate you guys for being a part of this.